The tribal conflict has been going on for tens of years. It is considered the norm in the highlands of Papua New Guinea, yet many global members are still unaware or silent on the topic. Simon had to sacrifice his own connection to his tribe to protect his family.
I had to make some decisions where I had to take my family and then go back to move away from the area, my own place, which I found it a bit challenging because in our place, like you are culturally born together, sometimes for such decisions, it would mean that you will exclude yourself from your community for the rest of your life.
Tribal fighting is not a new concept, but in a post-colonial setting, the influx of guns and other weapons has led to more damage and destruction in the villages in the highlands. Simon Dew, a Highland native and protection field officer for the ICRC in the highlands, has experienced the first-hand impact of an increase of guns.
With the influx of guns and all this, you would say like it falls back to the dynamics of the fight. Like when you look at the fight, like before with travel bows and arrows, there were distractions, but it was less severe than with the exploitation of guns and all this.
A recent photo exhibition, Head-On Photography Festival, has allowed the Sydney community to gain an insight into the realities of the conflict. But there still is a large underlying question. Why is there a lack of representation of an issue that is facing one of Australia's closest neighbours? There is an estimated 60 active tribal fights in the highlands of Papua New Guinea, which have not been resolved or reached a peaceful resolution. Head of the International Committee of the Red Cross mission in Papua New Guinea, Ahmed Halak, explains more.
Unfortunately, many continue for years, not necessarily with constant fighting, but with in a status of flux where it can go either way, and where there is no peaceful resolution or peaceful agreement. That just means that potentially there are dozens of tribal fights that can erupt at any moment. Traditionally, it's been as a result of disputes over property or over land. Increasingly, elections are also a source of conflict or tribal fighting, but also alcohol abuse and substance abuse.
Tribal conflict is ingrained in the culture of the Papua New Guinea highlands. The tribes are culturally and socially bonded. Every member of the tribe is involved in the fighting. Simon said that you are obliged to fight. There is a community pressure to protect your tribe and fight. Photographer and communications officer for the ICRC, Caitlin Welch, spent a month in Papua New Guinea capturing the communal nature.
The tribal system is so strong. And so when they think about helping or doing something for someone, it's not just one person.
And of course, like when a tribal fight happens, then there is no exceptions. I mean, if you are from one side of the conflict, then they can possibly attack.
The destruction is significant, yet there is a lack of representation of this in mainstream media. The members of the ICRC confirmed this.
I think that this issue is underrepresented, but I think it's underrepresented because it's probably unknown and probably a little bit misunderstood. PNG are our neighbours. I think that we should look out for our neighbours and we should understand the situations. But that's why we have an exhibition like this, to try and increase public awareness around the issue.
Dr. Neil McLean, expert in anthropology in Papua New Guinea and senior lecturer at the University of Sydney, has seen a definite shift in attitude towards the Papua New Guinea area. He said that there was probably more of a sustained focus on the conflict when he started researching in the 70s, compared to what there is now.
I think we should be concerned about conflicts. One aspect of explanation is culture, that in that sense warfare had, if you like, a cultural logic to these issues. When we turn our attention to these things, we're much more likely to look at Indonesia, we're much more likely to look at there was the major reorientation towards Asia, kind of a loss of a sense of relevance of the Pacific. I don't think anyone quite knows how to frame it these days. So it's no longer possible to kind of separate off tribal fighting as something of the past. It's actually integral to the present.
The photo exhibition has allowed the community to gain an insight into the conflict, but it is questionable to whether it is enough.
I think it's good, and I think the photographs, I think that kind of documentation is a good thing. There are also dangers to photographs if you don't frame their interpretation. If your aim is to get people to think about a problem, or if your aim is to get people to go beyond primitivist interpretations, you can't expect photographs to simply speak a truth to people. Then by definition, things like this are going to tend to appear like as though they were kind of little shock moments. But what do you do with a shock?
The shock moments remind us that the endemic of tribal conflict in Papua New Guinea is being forgotten.